You are listening to Middle East Monitor Conversations, bringing you lively discussions with prominent voices from the region and beyond, as we delve deeper into issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa, from politics, the culture, and the arts. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another week of MEMO in Conversation. Today, we have Dr. Amgad. Dr. Amgad, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciated. So, Dr. Amgad, going straight into it. You are a thoracic surgeon, yes?
Yep.
And you traveled along with a group of doctors through Egypt to Gaza as part of, I believe, the NGO Rahma Worldwide.
Correct.
Yes. And you went during the ongoing war. And I understand you spent your time there working at the Nasser and European hospitals in southern Gaza of Khan Yunis. I guess where to begin? You consciously went there knowing what was unfolding. So you were fully aware that your life was at risk before going there. What was your thought process to making the decision to join the Palestinian doctors there and to go with the group of doctors? What made you actually brave this decision and go through with it? And did you hesitate at any point? What was the reactions of your loved ones, your family, and your friends?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation. So we've been following the news since second or third week of October, and we've been with all what we see. It's as a physician and as a surgeon, it is very difficult to see this happening in the world, especially for children and women. Now, the as physicians, we are trained that our passion is to save lives and to make a difference. So we've been trying to find any way that we can help and finalize this humanitarian crisis. And when we got the approval of the WHO and the UN, it was actually very rewarding. Of course, when we had the discussion with the family, it was a bit difficult, and we understood that there is a risk and there is threats, and there is the war is still active. But we were hoping that there may be like a ceasefire or something that happens that will decrease the burden of the rockets and all this what we hear in the news. So of course it was not a straightforward decision, but when we get the approval, we thought it will be a good chance for us to make a difference and give the healthcare workers a break from what they are seeing. And when we went there, we realized that they have been exhausted and they have been working nonstop for 3 months or 83 days it was, and they are unpaid, so they are worried about their families. They are actually living in the hospital. So I think it was a blessing that we were able to go. And I personally, people when they ask me, they thank me for going. They saying you did a good job, but I think that I'm the first one who benefited myself from that trip. I learned a lot, and it meant a lot for me, and I learned. I think it was a game changer for me, this trip.
You mentioned you went during when it was like 85 days of war or something. Right now, I think today marked the 125th day. We're like 4 months in. Obviously, we're reading and we're seeing excerpts of the reality there, the damage and the horror that's unfolding, all the bombardments and the rubble. You must have seen it yourself on social media and the little that we see on news as well. But was the damage and the horror there to the scale that you anticipated, or was it was it worse than you could ever possibly imagine? What was your initial reaction, I guess, once you stepped in and once you met the Palestinians?
Yeah, I would say that whatever comes in the news and whatever you see in social media is 10 to 20% of reality. It's the reality is much worse. And I've seen things that I couldn't even imagine. I took some pictures and I actually, some of them I deleted because people will not even imagine that this is can really happen in the 21st century and between human beings. So as soon as you walk out of the border, you see people in tents and with no food. As soon as there is a car that crosses a truck that has some water or food, the kids run to it and the people run to grab a bottle of water or grab something they can eat. It's And as far as the medicine part, it's the injuries that I've seen are not even described in textbooks. It's stuff that, as a physician and surgeon, you've never seen this before. It's very complex injuries. It's not a single part of the body. It's multiple parts of the body. You need a chest surgeon, a brain surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, and bone surgeon, and general surgeon, and you need a plastic surgeon for only one injury because it's taking too many different parts, and you get puzzled that you cannot even sometimes help because you make unfortunately a brave decision that we have to take the limb out, or we have to take the arm out, or we have to cut this piece, and because we have nowhere to repair it or nowhere to reconstruct it back. And the difficult moments were when you go in with mass casualties and you decide, you know what, we're only 2-3 surgeons here, we're gonna let these people die because we're not gonna be able to save them anyway, and let's concentrate on those who potentially may live from the injuries that they have. So I think, and people often ask me about the numbers. You know, the numbers, they were 20,000, now they are 27,000. All these numbers are only the numbers of people counted. There is hundreds and hundreds of people still under their belt. There is people actually. There is bodies on the roads, with the you see the foul smell coming out of them, and body fluids and worms. It's something that's unimaginable. And there is people who died because they don't have access to medication, not related to the trauma or rockets or missiles or bullets. It's because they don't have access to insulin for diabetes, they don't have access to hypertension, or these chronic diseases that require regular medications. There's no medication. So we were lucky that we were able to take with us some of the very basic medications for anesthesia, for the OR, for antibiotics, and people were looking at this as if we have gold with us. It's really, really bad. So what I saw is way worse than what I expected.
Did you experience any of the shelling and the bombings around you? Like, did you see any direct hits for yourself? Because obviously we're aware that Israel is systematically targeting health structures and systems, including medical staff, whether it's harassing and detaining them or shooting them, the ambulances transporting the injured, as well as the patients. Did you witness any of that yourself? And how was it even working under all that? Because even while watching the videos, we hear this constant buzzing. We hear the constant airstrikes and the planes. How was that? Is there any way to even prepare for it, I guess?
I wasn't personally prepared. It was also shocking for me. The buzzing is the drones that are 24/7 for whatever missions being done. But the bombing was very, very close to the hospital. It was 100 meters, 50 meters from the hospital. You hear it constantly. It starts 5:30 p.m. Till 7:30 in the morning, and during the day there's tanks with bombs all around. I saw the director of the hospital. His brother is a physician who was killed when we were there. There was a bomb from one of the tanks that came to very close to the hospital, to Nasser Hospital, maybe 50 meters around. And he came from, he went down to help the people, and an airstrike came immediately and killed him with all the people who were trying to save the injured. It's very difficult for us to convince an ambulance driver to go at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. to pick up bodies or pick up the injured. Most of the mass casualties come in the morning after 9 or 10, when people get a chance to go and pick them up, because anything that moves after 5, 6 p.m. is a target. Anything moving is a target. So it was difficult, and you can hear it very close to the hospital, and it rocks the building and the windows, and we saw in Nasser, we saw one of the buildings where the wall, I think it was in news before I traveled, that a big hole where a rocket came into one of the hospital rooms. I think there was a 13-year-old girl in that room. She's from northern Gaza. All her family were killed and martyred, and she was always telling the nursing staff, "I wish that I was martyred with them." And she had the amputation of her legs. She was in hospital bed, and the rocket came from the wall of the hospital into her hospital bed, and it didn't fire, but it came directly into her head, and she died in the hospital bed in Nasser Hospital. It's actually frightening, and I have no idea how people are tolerating this. It was a very difficult decision for us to leave. You feel that you're betraying them, or it's I have no idea how people have been living through this for the last 4 months.
I don't even know what to say, because I don't know. There's nothing you can say that can sort of properly explain or help understand what this inhumane suffering is that they're going through. You had the opportunity, obviously, to be directly there, to be amongst these people that have been going through this. And, they've repeatedly gone through it, but obviously this time, this phase of war is at a drastic level that we didn't see coming. You got to interact with patients, children, adults, parents. I even read that you and the group of doctors spent time playing with the children. What would the conversations typically be with the children? What even if you not even during your talking with them, but what would you hear the chattering around you? How do they keep themselves going, the children, before we talk about the parents and the adults, because obviously there's going to be a big difference between the nature of their talks and their conversations, concerns, stress, pain. But children, focusing on the children now, how would that be? Obviously you're seeing children at home in Canada, and then you're going over there and you're seeing, it must have been heartbreaking.
So you're right. I actually learned a lot from these children. I learned from 11 years old and 8 years old, and I learned from a 4 years old who he is from northern Gaza. He had his lung destroyed from a missile. And, I was talking to the mother, and she told him, "Dr. Amgad will be doing surgery for you tomorrow," and so he looked at me, and he does to me like this. He gave me both his thumbs up, and as if he's reassuring me that everything will be okay. So these are not normal children. You know, uh, these people, there is something in their genes. I don't know what it is. It's the upgrade, the way they were raised, all the challenges around them. The 8 and 11 years old, as if you're talking to 25, 30 years old. They have so much uh, ambition. They have resilience. They know they are right. They are determined that they are protecting their lands, and they are taking care of 15, 16 years old. There is taking care of the whole family. He is responsible. He's a big man. And I remember seeing one of the guys who was, we didn't have internet, we didn't have Wi-Fi, and he was playing with the phone, and he had this like connected to the Wi-Fi all of a sudden, and the WhatsApp worked, and we started to contact our families. And I'm like, where did you study? How did you know this? And he told me, Dr. Amgad, I'm gonna make Amazon or TikTok. This is his ambition. This is the amount of the way he thinks of himself. It's and the other guy, he's like, I'm gonna be a very famous journalist one day. The other guy has said, I'm gonna be a very big surgeon. I'm gonna be a very famous surgeon. So these are the, and immediately in Rafah, where all these things around, and rockets are coming, and airstrikes, they are playing soccer till 5 p.m. They are playing, enjoying their day after they go pick up they get for the flour for their mothers to make the bread, and get food or get water, staying in lines, and then they enjoy the it's really inspiring to deal with these people. And regardless of the children, I met one of my colleagues from UK. She's got a very prestigious position in Oxford, at Oxford University, and she told me, I've been going to Gaza every year for the last 15 years. I said, well, this is Christmas, this is New Year. You don't have any, this is your vacation time for everybody. And she said, I said, is it the food? Is it the weather? Is it the culture? What is this specific? And even her specialty is not like a war specialty. She's an OBGYN doctor. So she told me, Dr. Sharif, it's the people. When you see these people, you realize these people are different. And this is what I learned, and I agree with her. So the children are, of course, they are hurt from what's happening, but they think that they have a mission, and everything will be over. And if one of them told me, we either gonna live in dignity or we die. We don't have a third option. And when you talk to them, you feel that they are like grown-ups. Um, One of the news reporters from the US, she was interviewing an 8-year-old girl. Was actually she was living in Ireland, and she speaks fluent English. And the reporter asked her, "Aren't you afraid?" She told her, "I'm a little bit afraid. There is strikes, there is bombing all the time, but this is our land, and we have to defend our land." So the reporter told her, "Why didn't you leave? Just leave. Come back when this is over." And the girl goes, "Leave and go where?" In 1948, they told us to leave. We took the keys to our houses. We thought we're coming back next morning, and it's been 75 years. So they reported. So this is how they think of their country and their land.
So much wisdom and courage in their little bodies. Was it your first time visiting Gaza?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Where are you originally from?
I'm Egyptian originally.
Oh, okay. I see. Do you visit Egypt often?
Sure, yeah, yeah. Every 6 years, yeah.
So what would you say is the significant difference between your interaction with the children and then the adults and the parents, the Palestinian adults and parents around you?
Of course, the adults and parents they feel the responsibility, and but most of them are also, they have been through this many times. This time is different, but they still have the resilience. So, for example, that physician who I told you about, he's the brother of one of the director of the hospital. So when his brother was martyred, we saw him next morning. He's working in the hospital, going back and forth, and every and people are meeting him to give him condolences. My friend David he said, he looked at me, said, Amgad, this guy doesn't look that he lost his brother yesterday. He's working till 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and distributing smiles on everybody on the hallways, because the hospital is a big refugee camp. There's like maybe 22,000 people living in the hospital, other than the physicians. And when you do surgery, people don't go home. There's no home. They already fled from the northern part of Gaza, and they are all Rafah and Khan Yunis. Maybe the original population is 300,000 or 400,000. Now there is almost 1.5 million or 2 million, and they are all packed, and no water, no washrooms. So, but he is completely fine. And people, when they give him condolences, guess what they say? They tell him, well, hopefully you were able to bury him, as if burying his brother is a blessing, because
That's the privilege there right now, isn't it?
yeah, it is a privilege. So, but again, I met too many professionals. Actually, they are professors. They fled with their families. They are living with neighbors, and living with friends. And the way it works, I don't know. I can send you this in a different text. There is warning every day that comes from the military as where to go and where not to go, and there is amber alerts that goes into the phone. Even my phone, I received this amber alert is, you're allowed to go through from this street, not that street. You are allowed to go in this block, not that block. So people, when they receive these messages, they already fled 2 or 3 times before their homes and so they don't know where to go after that. Like it's every like one bedroom apartment, there is 150 or 200 people living in it. And
There's even reports that these safe zones that they alert the people of Gaza with, even there they suddenly strike with.
That's correct. That's correct. That's some of the physicians told me that. Sure, yeah, that's correct.
When it was when it was nearing to the days for you to prepare to leave Gaza and return safely home, what kind of emotions and feelings and thought process were you going through? Because you mentioned you didn't even actually want to leave, and you felt a sense of guilt as well, because obviously you had the privilege of choosing, a choice. Even having a choice as a human became something of precious, because you were surrounded by people who don't have a choice, who are going through everything. War crimes. At the end, they're going through war crimes. They're suffering war crimes. They have no choice. They have no freedom. There's no justice right now. So, can you tell me a little, if you could share a little about what you were feeling, what your thought process were, and why you mentioned that you didn't even want to leave?
You're absolutely correct. It was a very difficult moment, and we actually kept debating many times. And one of us, my friend from Chicago, he
So,
ended up staying.
you spent 2 weeks there, am I right?
Well, the whole mission was planned for 2 weeks. I spent
Okay.
9 days,
Oh, okay.
but one of my friends, he continued for another week, and he's a bone surgeon, and he was doing like 10 to 15 amputations every day. So imagine cutting legs and every day non-stop. So it was he definitely said there's absolutely no way I'm leaving, and I think uh, the only hope that you can spread the word and make more awareness and make more people willing to help and I don't want to say a campaign, but just have more people aware of what's really happening. If God blessed you and you were able to visit this blessed land, um, the good thing is we were able to arrange more visits and have because there is hundreds and thousands of people, of physicians and surgeons all over the world who wants to help and wants to volunteer, and there is very limited space. These people, despite all what they have been through, when they were telling us goodbye, they were apologetic and said, we didn't really welcome you well. I'm sorry you came during the wartime and you didn't have like good food for you. We didn't have able to treat you like a guest. The typical Arabic traditions and Islamic. Way of welcoming people. So they felt bad that they didn't do their enough welcoming for us. So I think having like rotations for more people to go and more people to be aware and visit and help and different subspecialties also. It's important because in my opinion, medically, I don't think they need only surgeons. They need everybody. They need nurses, they need social workers, they need um, anybody who can volunteer. They need teachers, they need, eventually they will need builders, they will need engineers, they will need so many other things, professions. Uh, I think this is the thing that can give you a little bit of reassurance when you feel that you're leaving. But of course, you have this sense of guilt for sure.
I wanted to ask as well because you made a point to note that the hospitals are serving as refugee camps now, as well, just like the schools are as well. And as a result of that, inevitably it must be resulting in and causing a lot of illnesses to spread, viruses, and it must be rampant. Um, can you share some from from your medical point of view of the dangers that this brings and how it's making a situation just go from worse to even more worse?
Sure, yeah. So of course, in the U.S. and Canada, or even any uh, accredited hospital and healthcare system, you have the waste of the OR or the equipments and the needles and syringes and all the stuff has to have a certain way of recycling and the garbage. So I have pictures of garbage and waste of the hospital all over the place, tons and tons and tons. And this is, of course, a ticking bomb waiting to explode at some time because we've seen lots of communicable diseases starting with diarrhea and gastroenteritis and there's lots of infectious disease specialists who have gone already there and communicable disease specialists who are trying to put some plans for them to avoid this. But the the amount of the infrastructure is totally destroyed. Is totally destroyed. There is no there is no trucks and there is no infrastructure to remove the dead bodies of the people on the floor or under the river. So and on the roads. So like taking care of the garbage or taking care of the waste in the hospital.
It's at the least of everyone's concerns, isn't it, at that point?
Yeah. So, but of course it is, and with the weather also with the winter time now there and the rain
Yeah.
and the all their sheets and their beddings get wet and it's it's a very difficult situation, and hopefully, when this is over, there will be plans in place to stop this from spreading.
How did you stay there, Dr. Amgad? I realize I've been saying Amjad. Sorry, it's Amgad, yeah?
You can say whatever you want. It's
How,
we stayed in the
how
hospital.
how did you go? What was your daily routine the 9 days you were there when it came to eating wise, sleeping wise, working wise? Even obviously, you're not doing a normal 9 to 5 job. It's every minute of the day thing. How did you feel the exhaustion while you were there, or was it once you returned? Or was it even two different types of exhaustion that you felt? Because you must be running on some adrenaline rush while you were there. You knew you had to be on top of your game. And obviously the work routine is very different to the lifestyle you're living, outside of Gaza. How did you adapt? Obviously you had no choice, but how did you eventually just go with it, go through it?
To be honest with you, I was personally very, very looking forward to it. It's not an adrenaline rush. It's in general, as a surgeons, we don't work 9 to 5.
No.
There's some types of physicians who work 9 to 5, but surgeons don't do 9 to 5. But and subspecialties also in surgery, they work extra hours. But for that trip, I think, well, first it took us 2 days to get in because there's like 15 checkpoints, and it's not, this was not easy by itself. Like and it was kind of difficult because you know that there is approvals and things are arranged and authorized, pre-authorized. But so this is one of the things that was a bit tiring initially. But then once we were there and we crossed the border, you feel that you don't want to stop. You just don't want to stop. I can say that a few of us barely made like a few hours sleep every day, and it's actually difficult to sleep because you hear the rockets and the strikes all night through, and the 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 mass casualties that comes in. What's your first name again?
Anjuman.
Anjuman. The mass casualties that come as Anjuman is you have no way to think that you can even do something else. So the food, it's half a meal a day, or like you get some snacks here and there. But there is something in our culture and our religion called barakah, blessings. So 2 by 2 is not 4. 2 by 2 can be, or 2 plus 2 can be 6, can be 8, can be 10. So the amount of half an hour of sleep that you get, or 2 hours of sleep for a day. I remember my neurosurgeon colleagues from Duke, he was nonstop. He was nonstop. He's in the OR constantly, and you feel that you're making a difference. And Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the power and gives you the energy way above the adrenaline surge. So we stayed in the hospital, of course, but and the food, they make some food like local food for us, that they make in the hospital with some bread, and but it wasn't an issue, and we were not worried about it. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. This question, I want to slowly end with this question is, what's the one thing that you've maybe observed or witnessed or experienced that will that really stuck by you out of your whole experience, whether it's haunted you or inspired you or struck you? But what's the one thing that you find yourself remembering, constantly since your return back from Gaza?
The resilience, the resilience, the resilience. These people, they know what they are doing. They know they have an amazing cause that they are going after, and they They just cannot be beaten. They are happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are, and the Islamic culture, there's something called the rida. Rida in Arabic, or in English rather, means happiness. Like, you have content, you have self-content. They are just happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Period. They, I will never forget this. An 11-year-old who came with a skull fracture. David and I are looking over the CAT scan, and we're trying to decide. And David said, we have to go to the OR. Then the father came, and we told him what's happening. This was like 15 meters or 175 meters from the hospital. And he looked at his son, bleeding from his nose, bleeding from his mouth, bleeding from his ET tube, endotracheal tube, where we intubated him, bleeding from his brain, rather. And when David, who doesn't speak very good English, said we're going to go for surgery, and I'm translating, and the dad looked at his kid, the 11 years old, and he looked at David and I, and he said in Arabic, "Shu Allah wants, Shu Allah birid ana radi. Whatever Allah arranges, I'll be happy." So this is the one thing that inspired me from this trip, is the resilience and the being happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something that I don't know if this is recorded. I don't know who are your audience. I don't know they will understand this or not, but it's this is the thing that I really learned.
Oh, Dr. Amgad, so you're obviously very special to have been chosen to have this opportunity to help the even more special people, you know. So yeah, it's therefore it's such an honor to have had the opportunity to meet you, talk to you, and interview you. Is there anything else you would like to add? You've addressed a lot. It's been so fruitful. Thank you. But is there anything else you think is important to say, and maybe I've missed out on touching on it?
I'm not a journalist, so you ask, I answer.
No, you shared so much and so many beautiful things in all this horror. So thank you. You're such a good person. Oh, I wish I had the opportunity. I would go there in a heartbeat myself if there was any way that I could be helping them. But the best I can do now is obviously write and bring to light of what's going on and sharing your experiences. Obviously, there's just one more thing I want to ask. Your work hasn't, of course, ended. You've come back. It's important that you're still continuing to raise awareness in other ways. What do you feel like after witnessing everything there and talking to people directly there? What's the best thing we can do as the international community right now for these people? People are protesting, people are doing these marches, people are writing, making videos, posting, sharing, talking about it. Is there any more that we can do, or what have you found to be the most effective? And what have the people there been asking for? What do they want us to do?
This is a very good question. Actually, it comes from an experienced journalist. So they asked for the world to know the reality, because not all the reporters can reach, and not all the news media outlets can reach, and the mainstream media in the US and Canada has not been expressing the reality very well. Now, as far as the help and the donations and stuff like that. I think there's I didn't mention on the road, all these trucks and Juman are
they're blocked, isn't it?
blocked, and one of the guys told me 5% only reaches, 5% only of, and it's so I think the world has changed, and the social media made it a very small world, and people are out of the marches and the protests. Of course, all of us would hope that our politicians can do something about it, but there's only that much that we can control on that or change. But I think eventually, I, I think that this whole issue of Palestine and the story of Palestine, the reality, the history. People are now more aware of the history and what exactly happened. So I think there is, let's call like glad tidings of victory. That there is light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, and things will definitely change. You're a journalist, you're doing an amazing job in spreading awareness and spreading your word, and the engineers will have a role, the teachers will have a role, of course, nurses and physicians and healthcare professionals. So, and it's not that you have to go there physically, because not everybody will be able to go, but there is too many. The beauty of our religion is you can. And again, this is recorded, so, but there is a famous battle for the Prophet, peace be upon him, Ghazwat Tabuk, when he went and there was an army that went with him, and a lot of people didn't go, and Allah revealed in Surah At-Tawbah verses that speak about those who could not go, and the Prophet told his companions that all of these, although none of them was able to come because they have excuses, they are sharing the thawab, they are sharing the reward, they are sharing anything that you do, they are sharing with you the ajr and the reward. So I think it's people don't have to go physically, although it's a blessed land and it's a blessed environment, in my opinion. But the one thing is to keep doing what we are doing, and this is the only way until the politicians will be convinced that they can change things around. And I think it's happening already. I think that the main request that the people there requested is to have this awareness continuous. So because their voices are not heard, and they don't have all the media outlets and all the reporters there all the time to present them. So I think this is what you are doing and what your colleagues are doing and what people elsewhere are doing is very helpful, and it will be very appreciated and would be for sure very effective.
Thank you for noting that everyone, regardless of their role, have a part to play. Everyone has a skill to utilize to help in this cause alongside the Palestinians, and that we can't give up hope, as they're not giving up hope, so we have no right to stop and give up hope or feel helpless. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Amgad, I think you've addressed all and every single thing. Thank you again for making this so fruitful and so insightful, and for your time. And thank you to our listeners for joining. And please join us next week again.
This was Middle East Monitor Conversations, brought to you by the Middle East Monitor in London.